Creditor, 1971, by Chinua Achebe. "Madam, this way," sang the alert, high-wigged salesgirl minding one row of a cash machines in the supermarket. Mrs. Emneke veered her full-stack trolley ever so lightly to the girl. "Madame, you were coming to me," complained the cheated girl at the next machine. "Ah, sorry, my dear, next time." "Good afternoon, madame," sang the sweet-voiced girl, already unloading madame's purchases on her counter. "Cash or account, madame?" "Cash." She punched the prices as fast as lightning, and announced the verdict: £9 15 and 6. Miss Emneke opened her handbag, brought out from it a wallet, unzipped it, and held out two clean and crisp £5 notes. The girl punched again, and the machine released a tray of cash. She put Madame's money away, and gave her change and a foot-long receipt. Miss Emneke glanced at the bottom of the long strip of paper where the polite machine had registered her total spending with the words "Thank you, come again," and nodded. It was at this point that the first hitch occurred. There seemed to be nobody around to load Madame's purchases into a carton and take them to her car outside. "Where are these boys?" said the girl, almost in distress. "Sorry, Madame. Many of our carriers have gone away because of this free primary. John!" she called out, and she caught sight of the remaining few. "Come and pack Madame's things." John was a limping 40-year-old boy, sweating profusely even in the air-conditioned comfort of the supermarket. As he put things into an empty carton, he grumbled aloud. I don't talk say make una make tell manager make a go find more people for dis monkey work." You never hear say everybody don go to free primary," asked the wigged girl jovially. "All righto, but I no go kill myself for sake of free primary." Out of the car park he stowed the carton away in the boot of Miss Emneke's gray Mercedes, and then straightened up to wait while she opened her handbag, and then her wallet, and stirred a lot of coins there with one finger until she found a three-penny piece, pulled it out between her two fingers, and dropped it into the carrier's palm. He hesitated for a while, and then limped away without saying a word. Miss Emneke never cared for these old men running little boys' errands. No matter what you gave them, they never seemed satisfied. Look at this grumbling cripple. How much did he expect to be given for carrying a tiny carton a few yards? That was what free primary education had brought. It had brought even worse to the homes. Miss Emneke had lost 3 servants, including her baby nurse, since the beginning of the school year. The baby nurse problem was of course the worst. What was a working woman with a 7-month-old baby supposed to do? However, the problem did not last. After only a term of free education, the government withdrew the scheme for fear of going bankrupt. It would seem that on the advice of its experts, the Education Ministry had planned initially for 800,000 children. In the event, 1.5 million turned up on the first day of school. Where did all the rest come from? Had the experts misled the government? The chief statistician interviewed on the radio said it was nonsense to talk about miscalculation. The trouble was simply that children from neighboring states had been brought in thousands and registered dishonestly by unscrupulous people, a clear case of sabotage. Whatever the reason, the government canceled the scheme. The New Age wrote an editorial praising the Prime Minister for his statesmanship and courage, but pointing out that the whole dismal affair could have been avoided if the government had listened in the first place to the warning of many knowledgeable and responsible citizens. Which was true enough, for these citizens had written on the pages of the New Age to express their doubt and reservation about free education. The newspaper, on throwing open its pages to a thorough airing of views on the matter, had pointed out that it did so in the national cause, and mounting an old hobby horse, challenged those of its critics who could see no merit whatsoever in a newspaper owned by a foreign capital to come forward and demonstrate an equal or a higher order of national commitment and patriotism, a challenge that none of those critics took up. The offer of space by the new age was taken up eagerly, and in the course of 10 days, at the rate of 2 or even 3 articles a day, a large number of responsible citizens, lawyers, doctors, merchants, engineers, salesmen, insurance brokers, university lecturers, etc., had written in criticism of the scheme. No one was against education for the kids, they said, but free education was premature. Someone said that not even the United States, in all its wealth and power, had introduced it yet. How much less? Mr. Emneke read the various contributions with boyish excitement. I wish civil servants were free to write to the papers, he told his wife, at least on 3 occasions during those 10 days. This is not bad, but he should have mentioned that this country has made tremendous strides in education since independence, because parents know the value of education and will make any sacrifice to find school fees for their children. We are not a nation of Oliver Twists. His wife was not really interested in all the argument at that stage, because somehow it all seemed to hang in the air. She had some vague, personal doubts about free education. That was all. Have you looked at the paper? Mike has written on this thing, said her husband on another occasion. It was Mike. Mike Ogundu. Oh, what does he say? I haven't read it yet. Oh, yes, you can trust Mike to call a spade a spade. See how he begins. Free primary education is tantamount to naked communism. That's not quite true, but that's Mike all over. He thinks someone might come to nationalize his shipping line. He's so scared of communism. But who wants communism here? Nobody. That's what I told him the other evening at the club. But he's so scared. You know one thing, too much money is bad-o. The discussion in the Emneke family remained at this intellectual level until one day their small boy, a bright lad of 12, helping out the cook and understudying the steward, announced he must go home to see his sick father. How did you know your father was sick? Asked Madame. My brother come tell me. When did your brother come? Yesterday for evening time. Why didn't you bring him to see me? I know no say, madam. Go on see aim. Why you no talk since yesterday? Asked Mr. Emneke, looking up from his newspaper. At first I tink say I no go home, but today one mind tell me say make you go see Emma. Perhaps a day sick too much, so therefore, all right, you can go, but make sure you are back by tomorrow otherwise. I must return back by morning time, Seth. He didn't come back. Mrs. Emneke was particularly angry because of the lies. She didn't like being outwitted by servants. Look at that little rat imagining himself clever. She should have suspected something from the way he had been carrying on of late. Now he had gone with a full month's pay, which he should lose in lieu of notice. It went to show that kindness to these people did not pay in the least. A week later, the gardener gave notice. He didn't try to hide anything. His elder brother had sent him a message to return to their village and register for free education. Mr. Emneke tried to laugh him out of this ridiculous piece of village ignorance. Free primary education is for children. Nobody's going to admit an old man like you. How old are you? I'm 15 years old, sir. You are 3, sneered Mrs. Emneke. Come and suck breast. You are not 15. You are at least 20, and no headmaster will admit you into a primary school. If you want to go and try, by all means do, but don't come back here when you've gone and failed. I no go fail, Olga, said the gardener. One man for our village, way old past my father, since Seth done register everything finish. He just go for magistrate court and pay them 5 shillings, and they swear for court juju way no they kill person, and no fit kill rat Seth. Well, it's entirely up to you. Your work here has been good, but Mark, what is all that long talk for? He wants to go. Let him go. Madame, no be say I want to go like that, but my senior brother, we have heard. You can go now. But I no go today. I want to give 1 week notice, and I fit another gardener for Madame. Don't worry about notice or gardener. Just go away. I fit get my pay now or come back for afternoon time? What pay? Madame, for dis 10 days I done work for dis month. Don't annoy me any further, just go away. But real annoyance was yet to come for Mrs. Emnike. Abigail, the baby nurse, came up to her 2 mornings later as she was getting ready for work and dumped the baby in her lap and took off. Abigail, of all people, after all she had done for her. Abigail, who came to her full of craw-craw, who used rags for sanitary towels, who was so ignorant she gave the baby a full bowl of water to stop it crying and dropped some through its nose. Now Abigail was a lady. She could sew and bake, wear a bra and clean pants, put on powder and perfumes, and stretch her hair, and she was ready to go. From that day, Miss Emnike hated the words free primary, which suddenly become part of everyday language, especially in the villages where they called it free primadu. She was particularly angry when people made jokes about it and had a strong urge to hit them on the head for a lack of feeling and good taste. She hated the Americans and the embassies, and particularly the Americans, who threw their money around and enticed the few remaining servants away from Africans. This began when she learned later that her gardener had not gone to school at all but to a Ford Foundation man who offered him £7 and bought him a bicycle and a senior sewing machine for his wife. Why do they do that? She asked. She didn't really want or need an answer, but her husband gave one all the same. Because, said he, back home in America they couldn't possibly afford a servant, so when they come out here and find them so cheap they go crazy. That's why. 3 months later, free primary ended and school fees were brought back. The government was persuaded by then that its piece of harebrained socialism, as the New Age called it, was unworkable in African conditions. This was a jibe at the Minister of Education, who was notorious for his leftist sympathies and perpetually at war with formidable Minister of Finance. We cannot go through with this scheme unless we are prepared to impose new taxes, said the finance minister at the cabinet meeting. Well then, let's impose the taxes, said the Minister of Education, which provoked derisive laughter from all his colleagues and even from permanent secretaries like Mr. Emnike, who were in attendance and who in strict protocol should not participate in debate or laughter. We can't, said the finance minister indulgently, with laughter still in his mouth. I know, right honorable Fred here doesn't worry whether or not this government lasts its full term, but some of us others do. At least, I want to be here long enough to retire my election debts. This was greeted with hilarious laughter and cries of hear, hear. In debating, skill education was no match for finance. In fact, finance had no equal in the entire cabinet, the Prime Minister included. Let us make no mistake about it, he continued, with a face and tone now serious. If anyone is so foolish as to impose new taxes now on our long-suffering masses. I thought we didn't have masses in Africa, interrupted the Minister of Education, starting a meager laughter that was taken up in good sport by one or two others. I'm sorry to trespass in my right honorable friend's territory. Communist slogans are so infectious. But as I was saying, we should not talk lightly about new taxes unless we are prepared to bring the army out and to quell tax riots. One simple fact of life which we have come to learn rather painfully and reluctantly, and I'm not so sure even now that we've learnt it, is that people do riot against taxes, but not against full school fees. The reason is simple. Everybody, even a motor park tout, knows what school fees are for. He can see his child going to school in the morning and coming back in the afternoon, but you go and tell him about general taxation, he immediately thinks that the government is stealing his money from him. One other point. If a man doesn't want to pay school fees, he doesn't have to. After all, this is a democratic society. The worst that can happen is that his child stays at home, which he probably doesn't mind at all, but taxes are different. Everybody must pay whether they want to or not. The difference is pretty sharp. Alright, part 2 will be on the next video.